So you've been running Facebook or Instagram ads for a while now and they're working. So you're wondering if it's time for you to start running Google Shopping ads. But before you do, it's worthwhile for you to understand how Google Shopping is different from what you're used to with Meta ads. Think about how Facebook and Instagram ads work. You're browsing through your feed, looking at photos and videos from your friends or family, and then an ad appears. You were not looking for a product. The product just appears. So the advertiser put the ad in front of you and hope it will catch your eye, and then you click on it and buy the product. On Google Shopping, it's completely different. What happens is you type something into Google, and then the ad appears. So the person who type it into Google basically has money to buy and wants to buy something, and your ad appears at the right time. That's what Google Shopping is about. You're simply showing up with the ads, with the right product, at the right price, at the right time. But because of that, it's such a wonderful opportunity that everyone in your niche wants to run Google Shopping ads. And because the competition is high, so the cost per click is much higher than what you'll be used to in Facebook and Instagram ads. And on top of that, you might get lucky with Facebook ad, with a viral ad. But on Google Shopping, you need to get enough clicks on your products before you know if the ads is ever going to work. And by accumulating those clicks, because you're paying per click, all the cost adds up. So that's why if you don't really know what you're doing and if you're not planning well ahead in time, you'll be wasting your money. And that's why in this video, I'm going to walk through with you how to plan your Google Shopping ads and whether you should be running it before you spend anything on the ads, so you know exactly which products to run, how much to allocate to these campaigns, and whether it's worth it for your store. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Clarice Lin, the ROI Doctor. I help Shopify store owners to double your store revenue with profitable Google ads. If you're new to the channel, welcome. So the first question we're going to answer here is Google Shopping right for your Shopify store? The thing is, people who are running Google ads will all tell you, yes, you should be running Google Shopping. But I'm here to tell you otherwise. Google Shopping ads is not for everyone. It's not for every store. It's not for every product. So before you do anything, you need to ask yourself these 3 questions. Question number 1, what is your profit margins for your products? If your profit margins are at least 40% or more, then you're in a good position to run the ads, because it will give you enough money to cover the ad spend, maybe even hire someone to run your ads for you, and then you will still have profit left for yourself. But if you don't have 40%, maybe it's slightly lower at 30% or so, perhaps it could still work. We'll need to then now go into the second question. Question number 2. What is your average order value? Now, this is a very important question because most people overlook this. We'll break it down step by step. Let's say your average order value is $150. Your profit margin is 40%, so you take $150, multiply by 40%, and you get $60 profit. And that gives you $60 profit per sale. Now look at what you need to spend to get that cost. Let's say your cost per click is $2 and your conversion rate is 2%, meaning 2 out of every 100 visitors buy. So to get 1 sale, you need 50 clicks. 50 clicks at $2 each, that will be $100. So you made $60 profit, but you spent $100 to get that sale. Now, if your average order value was only $30 with the same 40% profit margin, that ends up with just $12 profit per sale. But you are still spending $100 to get that customer. So that means the numbers don't work for you. It's a losing game for you to be running even shopping ads. But if your average order value is $200 or more, suddenly you have more room to work with your numbers. Now let's go on to the third question, which is also important. What is your customer lifetime value? So as you just saw, if customer bought on a single sale, the numbers might look tight or it might seem like a loss. That's exactly why this question 3 is important, because if this customer who just cost you $100 to get comes back again the second month and buy from you again, and the month after that to buy from you again, you only cost you one time $100 to get that sale. Think about what that customer is worth to your Shopify store over 6 months. If your customers are loyal and repeat buyers, you can actually afford to break even or even take a loss on the first sale, because you know the lifetime value makes it worth it. So now back to our example, that customer cost you $100 to acquire. So you made $60 profit on the first sale, so you're down $40. But then they come back again and buy it, another $150 order, another $60 profit. And this time, it costs you nothing to get that second sale. So across 2 sales from the same customer, you made $120 in profit. And then now, the $100 you spent to get that customer suddenly makes it much more worthwhile, right? Because now you have $20 return on ad spend. That's why average order value and customer lifetime value cannot be treated separately. They work together. And that's exactly why you need to know those numbers about your own Shopify store before you decide whether Google Shopping ads make sense for you. If you answered yes to at least one of those 3 questions, you're in a good position to move forward with Google Shopping ads. If not, well, you might want to reconsider this decision and then think of alternatives on how you can make it work. Now you're ready to move forward with Google Shopping ads. Let's talk about choosing the right products. Now, this is where most Shopify store owners on a small budget get it wrong, because they try to advertise everything in their store. And I get it. It means like promoting more products means you get more chances of winning a sale. But remember, on Google Shopping ads, you are paying every time you are getting a click. So if you're spreading your budget across too many products, you're only getting a handful of clicks per day. Think about it this way. If only 3 or 4 people click on a product, you can't really tell if the ads are working or not. That's like going to the street and asking 3 or 4 people if they like your products. And then you are deciding whether to continue with that approach. Essentially, you need a big number of clicks before you can start to see if there is a pattern, if it's helping to generate sales for you, and whether you should be running Google Shopping ads. So if you are trying to promote too many products at one go with a small budget, you are never going to find out which ads is going to work, because you'll be running out of money before you get your answer. So instead, from your Shopify store catalog, you want to select the products that tick these boxes. Number 1, they are already your top sellers. You know people like them. It's your number 1 top selling product. They are high in demand, they have plenty of reviews and social proof. If a product is selling extremely well, people want it, people are buying it, people are leaving reviews, you're not guessing if people are going to buy when they click on your ad. You're very confident if you get the right person to click, they will buy. So it's most likely, if you promote a product like that, Google Shopping ads would more likely work for you. Next, let's talk about how to research on your cost per click before you start. You have to know your numbers before you start on something like this. Before you decide on an ad budget, you need a rough idea of how much each click is going to cost in your niche. Google Keyword Planner will tell you what's the cost per click estimate, but those are the costs for search ads, not for shopping ads. Shopping ads is a different ad format, and they tend to be cheaper. There are industry benchmarks online that publish average Google Shopping ads cost by niche. A few years ago, there were some reports that say that Google Shopping average cost per click is about 66 cents, but there has been a few years now. I believe the price has gone up. So there haven't been any recent reports that I could share, so we'll just treat 66 cents as a rough starting point and maybe add 10% on top. From my own experience running Google Shopping ads, the average cost per click for a Google Shopping campaign on average can be anywhere from 60 cents to $150 USD. But then when you go to the search terms report to see, you could see that some of the costs, the actual cost per click, could go up much higher. So what happens is some search terms will cost higher, some will cost lower, and it averages out. So when you look at your campaign average cost per click, it should be around less than $150 on average. And it also depends on who you're selling to. If you're selling to other businesses, products that are selling to other businesses, the cost per click could go up even higher to even $6, $7, or over $20. That's possible because you're selling to other businesses. It's a very competitive space, so the cost per click is much, much higher. So for example, one of my clients' campaign, we were running Google Shopping ads, and then on average it was about $1. And when I look deeper into the search terms report, some of them was costing about $2 to $3. and even up to $5. So if you want to be generous with your campaign, you should assume around $1 to $1.50 budgeting for each campaign. And that gives you a realistic working number without being too pessimistic or too optimistic. And honestly, finding reliable cost per click data for your niche, for your store, is just really difficult. There just isn't much information out there at the moment. So the most practical thing you can do is to set aside a budget for testing, get your campaign live, and see what Google actually charges you for your own campaign. So that'll give you a much better benchmark than any other reports can give you. Now let's talk about the budget, the actual budget. Here's where it gets really interesting. This is the part that many Shopify store owners never think about before they start. Let's say you have a budget of $50 a day. Sounds very reasonable, right? But let's break it down. If you use $1.50 as your cost per click, for example, which we have just talked about, is a reasonable planning number. At $50, that gives you roughly 33 clicks total across everything you're running. Now, if you're spreading that across 10 products, that's only 3 clicks per product per day. Remember what we said earlier? That's like asking 3 people on the street if they like your product and making a big decision on that. You just can't tell anything from that. So to actually learn whether a product is working, you want a minimum of about 10 to 20 clicks a day. At $1.50 a click, that's about $15 to $30 per product. So if you're on a $50 budget, you should be running 2 products maximum, maybe 3. That's the key takeaway here. A small budget isn't a limitation, it's just a signal to be more focused. Get the money behind 2 of your best products and actually get enough data to make real business decisions. The next thing we want to talk about is the conversion rate, because this is where it ties everything together. The average conversion rate for Google Shopping is just about under 2%. Some on average have said it's about 1.91%, so it means for every 100 people who click on your ad, about 2 of them will actually buy. If you can get your conversion rates between 2 to 4%, you're doing well. And if you get it above 4%, that's really good. Right, now that we've worked out the numbers to emphasize how all of this tie together, we're going to talk a bit more about the technicalities, about logistically what you need to prepare. So before even launching your campaign, there are a few things you need to actually set up before you click start on your campaign. What you need is a Google Merchant Center account. You need to set it up. And that's where you set up your product feed. Information about your product catalog goes all of there. So you'll be sending information from your Shopify store to this Merchant Center. And then you need to set up your Google Ads account. This is where you actually run your ads. You set up your ads there and then you monitor how it works. So the Google Merchant Center is connected to your Google Ads account, and your Google Ads account is connected to your Shopify store, and your Shopify store is also connected to your Merchant Center account. Now the good news is, if you're on Shopify store, there's a free app called the Google and YouTube app. And it's free and it allows you to help you connect to those accounts that I've mentioned earlier, and it syncs your products automatically. It makes the entire setup process more straightforward. And the third thing you need to do is to set up your conversion tracking. Once you've set up your Google Ads account, you need to set up the conversion tracking. And what conversion tracking is a very technical term. What it basically means is you install a piece of code on your Shopify store, and when someone clicks on the ad and then buys from you through that click, then you're going to send some information back to Google and say, hey, I've got a customer sale through this Google ad clicks. So you're providing a feedback loop. And that essentially helps Google to know which clicks gets you customers. And then with this feedback loop, it's going to replicate this loop and try to find more similar customers for you. If you don't set this up correctly, this is where many people make the mistake, then you could have a problem, because then no matter how you run your ads, it's not going to work because you're not giving Google any feedback whether any of those clicks turn into sales. So it's very essential you set this up correctly. And you can set this up through the Google and YouTube app too. There's a settings inside which you can connect and set up this piece of code on your site from Google Ads. And the next thing you want to set up is Google Analytics. So Google Analytics can also be set up through this Google and YouTube tool. Essentially helps you to see how many people are coming to your site, which pages are they visiting, where are they coming from, those shoppers, and how are they interacting with your pages, how long they stay on it. So you get an overall view how that works. And then The last thing you need to also be installing is a Microsoft Clarity app. So Microsoft Clarity app is an app that allows you to see in real time even how the shoppers are interacting with your pages. So with analytics, you see the numbers. So Google works out, how those people are interacting with your pages and show you some numbers, how long they stay on your site. But with Microsoft Clarity, you can actually see how those people are clicking around on your site. You can see which buttons they click on, how they go from the collections page to the individual product page, if they scroll all the way down, are they flipping the pictures? So you can see that all in detail with Microsoft Clarity. With this Microsoft Clarity, it will help you to see whether the people coming from Google Ads, whether they are the right people. That's why it's important. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later. So together, all of these tools give you everything you need to understand what's working with your ads and what isn't. You need to get them all set up before you launch, because once your campaign is live and the clicks start coming in, you want to be capturing every single piece of information from day one. So now you know what you need to do to get everything up and going. I want to talk a little bit more about how long should you run the ads before you make any decisions. And this is something I see a lot of people doing. They launch a campaign, they spend $30, they don't get any sales, they're panicking, and then they turn it off. And I get it. It's your money, and you don't want to waste it. But that's way too early to make any kind of decision, especially if you're running Google Shopping ads. Remember we said you need at least 10 to 20 clicks per day per product to learn anything? Well, you need to build up to at least 100 clicks per product, ideally, before you can start seeing any pattern. At 10 clicks a day, that's 10 days. At 20 clicks a day, that's 5 days. So you need to give it some time. So let's put an actual number to it. You're running 2 products, you need 100 clicks on each. At $150 per click, that's about $300 minimum. So $300 minimum, that rounds up to about $30 per day. But honestly, if you can set about $500 for your testing budget, you'll be in a much more comfortable position, because your cost per click might come in higher than expected at the start. And then you want to make sure you have enough budget to collect proper data or information on how those products are performing. Now, something that you might be worth checking when you sign up to a new Google Ads account, because you are running new, you might get some promotional credit. So Google will give you some promotional credit. Let's say if you spend $500 within the first 60 days, they might give you another $500. So when you sign up for it, don't forget to take up on this offer. Now, why does Google want to give you promotional credit? Because Google knows that it takes time for Google Ads to work. Because of that, they want to give you those promotional credit so you can collect some proper data and then decide for yourself if you want to continue. And here's the important thing when you run Google Shopping Ads. This $300 to $500 you're putting in, you shouldn't be really expecting any sales. It would be great if you get some sales. That means everything was working really well, Google managed to find the right customers for you, that's great. But mentally, you would want to treat it as you're spending money to buy more information. You're finding out whether these products can work on Google Shopping. That's worth paying for. And if you're expecting sales right from the first week, if you don't have $300 to $500 to set aside as a testing budget without hurting your business and you're down to your last dollar, then Google Shopping Ads is probably not the right move for you right now. But that's okay. You can come back to it when you're in a stronger financial position. There's no point starting it if you're going to turn off after a few days because you haven't seen any sales yet. Right, so what do you do once you have data? Once you've been running for a couple of weeks, you've got at least 100 clicks on each product, and you look at what the data is telling you. First, is it getting clicks and starting to get some sales? If yes, that's a very good sign. You're not making big decisions yet, but it tells you that the product has potential. So you can let it keep running, let the data build up a bit more before you start touching the budget. What if you're getting clicks but no sales at all? Well, that's where you go into the tools I've mentioned earlier. You go to analytics, you go to Microsoft Clarity, you look at what those people are doing after they land on those pages. Are they bouncing off immediately? Are they doing any add to carts? Are they leaving after 1 second? If you have many people who are leaving after 1 to 3 seconds and they're not clicking around looking at the product pages, then you're probably getting the wrong customers. So if you have those products that are selling well, but you're getting clicks that are not converting, then likely you are not getting the right clicks. So in this case, if they are dropping off, they're not even doing a checkout, no add to carts, then it tells you that you have a completely different problem there. And until you know where the problem is, if you look at Microsoft Clarity, you can't fix it. And you have to also ask yourself, is your price competitive? Because on Google Shopping, people can see you and your competitors side by side. If your price is way higher than everyone else, but you can't explain why your price is more than everyone else, then you might likely not get the conversions. But what if you're not getting any clicks at all? Well, then it could be also a technical issue, setup issue, or conversion tracking isn't set up correctly. Or you could have selected the wrong bidding strategy. So we talk about those signals that you need to send back to Google to provide a feedback loop. So if you're not providing the feedback correctly, then Google could struggle to find the right people for you. So you have to go back to check that. It could also be your product feed. If your product title isn't using the correct words that people are using on Google, then your ad will not show up. That's always worthwhile to check as well, because the scope about campaign optimization is too big. It gets into really the technicalities of how to set up running and going, and my video is about planning. I will not go into much details, but you can check out my 2 other videos. One is about how to make the most of your Google Shopping ads, how to get it to perform better. You can check out link in the top right hand corner of the screen, and also how to select the best bidding strategy for your Google Shopping ad. Link can also be found in the top right hand corner of the screen. And here's one bonus tip for you. Upload your customer list. Because you have been selling well on Facebook and Instagram, you have maybe a few hundred customers already. Upload those customers' information into Google Ads. That will greatly help you to get the campaign running and getting results much earlier. If you have a small list, well, don't worry. But if you have no list, then you could struggle. Anyway, that will be the best way to get your campaign to help Google find your right customers much easier if you provide them the information of how your perfect customers look like. So your job in the first few weeks is just to collect this data, you stay patient, and you don't make any big decisions too early. But for now, let's do a quick recap of what we've covered today. Before you even start, make sure Google Shopping makes sense for your business. Your profit margins should be at least 40%, or your average order value and customer lifetime value needs to make the numbers work. And then from your Shopify store, you select your top performing products with high demand and good reviews. Don't try to run everything on a small budget, 2 products maximum, and then you do a rough check on what your cost per click looks like. You can use $1 to $1.50 as a planning number, but go in knowing that it could be a higher cost per click, actual cost per click for some of your search terms. Do your budgets before you spend anything. Make sure your product is getting at least 10 to 20 clicks a day, and set aside $300 to $500 as your testing budgets, and go in knowing that there's money you're spending to learn, to test, not money you're expecting to get back. Before you launch, make sure your Google Merchant Center, Google Ads account, conversion tracking, Google Analytics, and Microsoft Clarity are all set up and connected. And once you're live, be patient. Give each product at least 100 clicks before you make any decisions. If you need help with your Google Ads performance, you want to get more consistent performance quickly, you can get in touch at claricelyn.com to find out how I can help you achieve your business goals. And you've got more questions about running Google Shopping ads, you can let me know, drop them in the comments below. And if you found this video valuable and helpful, do give it a like so the algorithm knows and more people can see this video. And don't miss future videos on how to double Shopify store revenue with profitable Google Ads. I'm Claricelyn, the ROI Doctor, signing off. Till the next video, stay profitable. Thank you.